Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the daily edition of the Hindu newspaper and are equally relevant for your UPSC preparation. Articles dated 22nd of December 2022 are listed on your screen and the time stamping along with the notes in PDF and Word format are given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article for the day.
Here is your question for weekly answer writing. The question says that discuss the reasons and impact of increasing interstate boundary dispute. Well, this question is from the current affair as per the dispute between Karnataka and Maharashtra. So you have to discuss about the state boundary related dispute with the recent examples. You are also required to suggest suitable measures to resolve such disputes within constitutional and legal framework. Try to answer this question within 250 words and try to submit it before Saturday to get it evaluated by the evaluation team at Raus IAS. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on the business page, that is page 14, and talks about the conundrum, the confusion, the debate that whether there should be the tight monetary policy or what we call it as the dear monetary policy or not. Should RBI try to follow the tight monetary policy where they keep on increasing the policy rates time and again in order to control the inflation? Or should RBI go for stability or a pause in the policy rate increasing and allow the growth to go ahead? The relevance of the article is straightforward. With respect to your prelim examination, this could be asked with respect to the RBI, the repo rate or the monetary policy committee. In the past also UPSC has asked question with respect to the monetary policy committee in the prelim examination. In your mains examination, it can be asked with respect to the monetary policy transmission and its basic analysis in your general studies paper 3. Today, we are going to look into the debate and also try to answer the transmission of monetary policy or the monetary policy transmission. Usually it happens that we keep on studying about the monetary policy committee, its composition and how it actually functions. But what about the monetary policy transmission? What happens once there is an increase or the decrease in the repo rate? What happens at the final stage? Is the objective, is the target set by RBI ever achieved? If there are any hindrances in achieving that target, what are they? Whenever there is an increase in repo rate, it is expected that there will be lower demand in the economy because the rate of interest on various loans borrowed from the banking sector will be high. And higher interest rate simply means that people will demand less money and they will spend less. That is going to hurt the overall demand in the economy. However, from increasing the repo rate by RBI till the final rolling out of policy rates and final impact on the consumers, including the firms or the companies and the household, take time. And it is not a cent percent, it is not 100% transmission from RBI to the final consumer. It is often seen that if RBI has increased the policy rate by 0.5%, there is only 0.1% or 0.2% final impact seen on the consumers or the households. So what are the basic issues? What is the monetary policy transmission? How it differs across India? And what are those factors that does not allow the smooth transmission of monetary policy in India? And this is going to be the lead article for today that we are going to discuss. So when we talk about whether RBI should go for policy rate increase or not, well, RBI governor who recently chaired the monetary policy committee, and in this recent meeting, it was seen that RBI increased the repo rate by 0.35%, which is below than what it has done previously. And in a very recent DNS, I have discussed this increase in the monetary policy rate and its transmission. Yesterday, RBI governor has said if they pause in the increasing or the tight monetary policy, it might cost the inflation because this inflation is very sticky right now. Sticky here means it is neither increasing very high, not going as per the expectation. So as inflation is around 5 to 6% and even at some times it goes to 8%, RBI is very skeptical about whether they should go for lower rate of interest in the policy rates such as our repo rate or not. So first argument given by RBI governor is that as of now the inflation is very sticky to a particular position. And despite many efforts through monetary and the fiscal policy, it is seen that inflation remains on a particular stage. Hence, going for the cheap monetary policy and going for the lenient monetary policy is not an option. The second argument given by RBI governor is that there is a lag in the monetary policy transmission. Now, today we are going to look into this argument of RBI governor in much more detail. Why there is a lag? Why it is a case that when RBI increases repo rate, the final impact on the economy takes 5 to 6 months. And if today RBI is increasing policy rate, it is not that it is targeting the same for next month. It is looking for next half yearly or the projected growth and the inflation in the economy. So whatever results that we are getting today in December 2022 is based on the decisions taken by RBI 6 months back. So there's a delay, there's a lag of 4 to 5 months and sometimes even 6 months. The counter argument says that economic growth in India right now is very fragile. Fragile means it is not stable. Dear monetary policy or tight monetary policy might backfire the future economic growth. And the same is true here. If there is a consistent rise in the repo rate, it will hurt the sentiments of the buyers, the consumers who are getting things at a much expensive interest rate. Whether you talk about the car loan, whether you talk about the home loan, everything is becoming more expensive because of the higher policy rates created by Monetary Policy Committee at RBI. So this debate is going to keep on until and unless we find higher growth rate with stable inflation. So today we are going to look into what is monetary policy transmission, what are the different stages, what are the basic agenda for RBI in order to channelize the monetary policy, and what are the issues faced by RBI in achieving its 100% goal. So all the discussions that we are going to do today is based on a working paper published by RBI itself. So as per Reserve Bank of India, monetary policy transmission is a process. So it has a starting, it has a beginning, and it has an entire process, and it ends at a particular position. So this process involves the policy actions, which includes the increasing of policy rates or decreasing of policy rate. So what is a policy rate? Policy rate here simply means repo rate of RBI. So the policy actions taken by the RBI is transmitted to meet twin objective. The first is to control the higher inflation. The second one is to promote the economic growth. So whatever decision RBI is planning to take, it is actually targeting to control the inflationary pressure and provide economic growth. In the debate that we have seen, or which was also published in the article, says that there was an argument in favor of controlling inflation by RBI governor and promoting economic growth by the deputy governor. So based on that, it is a process to control inflation and promote economic growth. The objective remains very simple. The objective is how policy rate will impact three sectors: household, you and me, important firms, industrial sector, service sector, and the bank behavior. So whatever is going to be the impact on these three stakeholders with increase or decrease in the policy rate will determine how monetary policy transmission is going to behave. Monetary policy transmission, or MPT, is a two-stage process. The first one is that there is an impact on different financial sector. Now it may be banks, it may be insurance sector, it may be pension sector, it may be a payment interface like Paytm or PhonePe. And after the impact on the financial sector, which also includes the exchange rate, the second impact goes on the real market, which also includes the demand by consumers in the open market. Now, how it is done, please understand. Let's say repo rate of RBI was increased by 0.5% by a monetary policy committee. Now, 0.5 increase simply means that the rate of interest or R charged by, let's say, SBI will also be increased. Now, how much will this increase is going to be is a matter of monetary policy transmission. If it is smooth, if it is absolutely smooth, SBI will also increase the rate of interest by 5%, let's say on home loan. But if it is not smooth, RBI may not increase it in the final instance. The second stage is that the loan given by RBI will create higher prices for important products. Let's say price of car. So this is the impact on the real sector. So it's a two-stage process of monetary policy transmission. The agenda for RBI in this process is to identify what should be the transmission channel, that is, what tool RBI is going to use in order to transmit its policy to the final consumer. For this, RBI has four important channels. The first one is interest rate channel. In this, we have repo rate tool. So RBI can increase or decrease repo rate to go for monetary policy transmission from itself to the final consumer. The second is RBI can control the credit channel. It can direct a particular bank, a particular commercial bank, let's say State Bank of India, that State Bank of India will not give more credit to the consumer. They will not issue new credit cards. They will not provide new loans, or RBI can put a threshold that SBI cannot provide a loan amount of more than 1 crore rupees. The third option available to RBI is that they can control the exchange rate for the monetary policy transmission. Once they control the exchange rate, that is supply and demand of rupee and supply and demand of foreign currency, they will ultimately reduce down the imports coming to India. So let's say today RBI has controlled the demand of dollars. By that mean it is going to appreciate or depreciate the Indian rupee. More Indian rupee is depreciated, it will impact the imports of the country. People will import less, hence there will be the controlled demand. And the last one is asset price channel. RBI can control how different assets, financial assets, are sold in the market. As far as regulation is concerned, so RBI is responsible for the money market regulations and not the capital market. So RBI can control how different assets, monetary assets, are determined by a particular bank. So today we are going to take the first tool or the first channel, that is interest rate channel. The second agenda for RBI is to identify whether there is any friction between the one who is demanding and the one who is supplying. So who demand loan? You and me. We, the household people, demand loan. Let's say to construct a house. Let's say to buy different durables. Let's say to buy a car. Similarly, the loan is demanded by a company. Let's say a person wants to enter into a business of footwears. So they want to open a shop. So a firm may demand money. Now who is going to supply money? Of course, banks. So if there is a friction between the one who is demanding and the one who is supplying, if the friction is very high, if there is a trust deficit between banks and the consumers, the transmission of interest rate will not be smooth. I'm coming back to the example that we have discussed previously. Let's say the repo rate was increased by RBI by 0.5%. SBI was looking to increase the same interest rate by 0.5%, but there was a conflict between SBI and, let's say, certain industries. We have seen the case of Vijay Mallya, where there was a high level of corruption which was found in the public sector banks. If there is a friction between the commercial banks and the end consumers, SBI might increase the rate or the policy rate by, let's say, 0.7% more than what RBI has increased. And this does not transmit the policy rate directly and smoothly to the consumer. RBI was thinking to increase by 0.5%, but SBI is not. So this friction might also be the part of RBI's agenda while determining the monetary policy transmission. And the last one is RBI is also concerned with long and variable lags. Now, lags simply means that how much time it will take from RBI to consumer in the monetary policy transmission. RBI has increased the repo rate in order to control the inflation, but it will take 4, 5, and even 6 months for the final consumer to reduce down their demand. So there is a long elongated lags in what RBI thinks and what actually happens on the ground. Now let us go through important issues in the monetary policy transmission. So we have classified the important issues into major and minor issues. When we talk about the first major issue is that there is a partial transmission. That is, if repo rate is increased, all sectors may not be impacted. There are certain sectors, let's say the financial sector or those industries which are associated with the exports might impact more. While the other sector, let's say agriculture sector, may not increase because a farmer is not taking loan. If a farmer is not taking loan, there is no matter whether the repo rate increases or decreases for him. Then comes the frequent lags in the final transmission. As we have already discussed, the presence of these lags between what RBI do and what consumer actually behave like finds a long lag of 6 months. Then comes the underdevelopment of financial sector. Still, India is a country where last mile banking services are not yet universal. There are people in rural areas who still rely a lot on the money lenders and sometimes even on peer-to-peer lending. So when there is a money lender, when there is a peer-to-peer lending, there is no impact which we are going to observe if there is an increase in the repo rate. If bank is not involved, there is no matter what repo rate is actually to a consumer. And the last important issue in the monetary policy transmission is higher impact of food prices. About a day ago, we have discussed in the daily prelims practice about Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, which has recently recommended that because of the higher impact of the food prices in the consumer price index, monetary policy transmission and utilization remains more or less futile. Let's take the example. You are going to buy, let's say, 5 kg of potato, tomato, or any other vegetable today. Are you going to take a loan for this? No. Are you going to approach a bank to take credit card to buy vegetables? The answer is no. When bank is not involved in day-to-day spendings, that too on the food prices, then even if RBI is looking to control the inflation, it cannot control the food prices. And that is the reason why entire impact on increasing repo rate could not be materialized because of the higher food prices. If we talk about the minor issue, the first one is the asset quality. The share of non-performing asset in the total asset. So if NPAs are very high, it simply means that no matter what repo rate is, whether it is high or it is low, so a person who is under non-performing asset, so for him or her does not matter whether a repo rate is high or low, he is already under the liquidation. He is not going to make any new demand because of his NPA account. The second one is expected loan losses in the portfolio of final users. So if a person has taken large number of loans and there is a numerous losses which he is already facing on his loan. Let's say a person has taken a car loan, but he is unable to pay loan on that. He does not have money to pay the EMI. So if the EMI has increased because of the repo rate or not, doesn't matter to him. The next one is rigidity in the lending rates by bank that we have already discussed. It has normally seen that whenever RBI increases or decreases the repo rate, final commercial banks does not make the similar changes. They are quite rigid. So if they have kept, let's say, very higher home loan interest and repo rate has reduced, they are not going to reduce down their home loans, citing a very lame argument that they have to make a larger margin. The next is the share of term deposit held by a bank. Most of the banks rely on term deposit for their lendings. The rate of interest on term deposit do not changes frequently as there is a change in the saving rate or the policy rates on other lendings. So when term deposit remains same and higher share of term deposit in the total money of the bank simply proves that whether repo rate increases or decreases doesn't matter to a bank. Next comes the return on the other financial savings to the consumer. You must have heard about mutual funds. If a person is earning very high amount from mutual funds, do you believe he is going to take loan? If a person is earning a lot of money with, let's say, selling of property and he's getting money, do you think he's going to take a loan from the bank? Or if a person is having, let's say, a large quantity of gold, do you think that person is going to take loan from the bank? No loan means no easy policy transmission. The balance sheet of the bank also determines whether the MPT is going to be smooth or not. If the balance sheet of a bank is very poor and RBI tells the bank to reduce down the policy rates, the bank is not going to follow that order. Why? Because bank is already under losses. Higher rate determines whether a bank is going to charge higher rate of interest or not. And the last one is credit worthiness of borrowing firms. All the firms which are taking loans, all the industry, service sector that are taking loans from the bank, whether they are earning profit or not. When they are earning profit, it is likely that they will pay higher rate of interest. But if they are not earning more profit, it is less likely that they are going to pay any potential increase in the interest rate. So all these factors together work to make it impossible for RBI to determine whether the initiative taken by them to increase or decrease the policy rate, it is going to benefit the economy or not. That is the reason why whenever RBI plan or project the inflation to fall by, let's say, 1%, it is not likely to happen. So forecasting, planning and predicting of inflation by RBI for the next 3 or 6 months may not materialize in the way they have thought. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared as a part of text and context section and talks about the latest clash between the Aam Aadmi Party and the Lieutenant Governor in Delhi. So the issue so far says that Supreme Court in 2015-16 has ordered to the Union Ministry of Information Broadcasting under the case of Common Cause versus Union of India. The direction says that Union Ministry should create an agency to regulate the government advertisements. Now, why Supreme Court had to do this? There were instances after 2013 and 2014 Lok Sabha elections that the public advertisement published by the government at the center and the state were deteriorated. There were advertisements which targeted the opposition parties through derogatory comments. There were the statements which actually led to the conflict between different classes and the communities in the country. And there were the instances of political personalization or the personality cult across India. Going by that, Supreme Court ordered the Union Ministry to create an agency or an organization or even a small committee to look into the sanctity of the public advertisement. Now, it is argued that what is the need for public advertisement? The reason is very simple. There are certain policies parameters that a government need to popularize. For example, government launches a new scheme with respect to the nutrition of small children. Now, if children and their family are not aware about such a scheme, how will they take the benefit? The advertisement which are published in the newspaper, in social media, in the television and radio provide the direct access of these families to the benefits given by the government on welfare schemes. So advertisements are required, but these advertisements in which public money is spent, in which the money of a taxpayer is spent, should be on the basis of morality, should be on the basis of political sanctity, and should be following the constitutional provisions. However, there were certain instances in which it was seen that these advertisements are taken to be granted by the political parties and taxpayers' money was used to defame or fame the own agenda. So, taking the entire issue in its hand, Ministry created a committee on the content regulation in government advertisement. And this was created in 2016. Since then, this committee has been very proactive in providing the right content in the public advertisements in which taxpayers' money is spent. If a political party is publishing a particular advertisement on its own money, then it's okay, then it is not government advertisement. Then it is a political party advertising. So you should have a basic clarity between both these kind of publication. After the creation of this advertisement, around the same year, Congress leader Ajay Makan filed an inquiry with the CCRGA on the advertisements which were published by Aam Aadmi Party in the same year. As per the complainant, the advertisements which were published by Aam Aadmi Party were against the political ideologies, they were derogatory, and they were created to defame the opposition parties in the government. So, taking the cognizance, Aam Aadmi Party was found to be violating the guidelines. So, we are going to read about the guidelines also of CCRGA, and they were fined 97 crore rupees to be paid, because this is the amount of money which is taxpayers' money and which was spent on the government advertising to popularize the personality cult. So based on the same, we are going to look into two important things. First, what are the basic guidelines given by CCRGA? And if there is a conflict between LG or Lieutenant Governor in Delhi and the Aam Aadmi Party or any other political party in Delhi, how it should be resolved. So Supreme Court has also laid down certain guidelines that we are going to look into. So as per the CCRGA, it was created to regulate all the government advertisements under the union or the state government. But the point is, states were also ordered to create such kind of authorities or the agencies under them. However, some of the state has decided to go with the CCRGA and not to create any separate body. This body can summon concerned official if the orders given by the agency are not followed. So officials can also be punished for non-action. The guideline says that this agency can regulate government advertisement in all the platform, all means all, including social media. State governments can also constitute their respective body or they can take the help of CCRGA. Advertisement should maintain the political neutrality. So the advertisement published by the government through taxpayers' money should not have any political ideologies or any political agenda. It should be politically neutral. Secondly, they should not glorify any political personality, including Chief Minister or Prime Minister, or any political parties. As you must have seen, if you go through a particular advertisement given by the government, you will not find mention of any political party like Congress, BJP, BSP or Aam Aadmi Party. So these parties are not mentioned in the advertisement. Different ministries, different departments take the responsibility of the publication of a concerned advertisement. There is no negative impression on the opposition party. It should not be created in that manner. No media house should be patronized. That is, government should not pay only one body or one newspaper or one news channel for the publication of its content. And advertisement should be done in cost-effective manner, not to waste taxpayers' money. So these are the basic guidelines which were violated by the Aam Aadmi Party in the concern. As per Delhi High Court's order of 2016, union territories are not authorized to constitute such CCRGA. Now Delhi does not have that body. So Delhi has to take orders from CCRGA created by the Union Ministry. And this time Aam Aadmi Party has neglected the allegation given on it saying that it is politically motivated. And this has created a rift between the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and the Aam Aadmi Party under the Chief Minister. In the previous instances also we have seen that such kind of conflict were created between these two people. But Supreme Court through its various guidelines has provided clear-cut process to reduce down the conflict between these two people. The first is that elected government cannot be undermined. So as per the 5-judge constitution badge of Supreme Court, it has been clarified that Delhi government is an elected government and should not be undermined by unelected or appointed administrator. The second is that the consent of Lieutenant Governor not required in every decision. So here Supreme Court says that apart from the subject that are not in Delhi government's jurisdiction, for example, police, land or public order, Lieutenant Governor consent is not required for every decision. I mean, if that is the case, state government will not be in a position to do anything without the union government's position, because LG is after all appointed by the union government. It also held that Lieutenant Governor could, in the event of disagreement with the Council of Minister or the Chief Minister, should refer it to the President, and President decisions should be bounded. Article 239AA envisages the representative form of government. So the representative form of government in Delhi under the Chief Minister is a constitutional authority itself. It has an elected legislative assembly which has legislative powers. So it has its own sovereignty to take decisions on the state list and the concurrent list. Then comes that the Lieutenant Governor should act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers rendered. Under this article, he or she should act except when he decide to refer the matter to the President for final decision. Otherwise, he should follow the decisions or the planning done by the Council of Ministers. The next order was that any matter cannot be understood by every matter. The point is, under clause 4 of the article 239AA, any matter is written. Now, any matter does not mean that Lieutenant Governor can talk about every matter. Any matter means that he or she can look into any matter, but does not mean that every matter should be taken under the cognizance of the Lieutenant Governor. He should be kept in loop. He should be provided the information on how the government is functioning. But that does not mean that he is going to take decisions on every matter. The next order was that Lieutenant Governor should work harmoniously with the elected government, and that should be his or her important priority. The Constitution Bench advised both the Chief Minister and the Lieutenant Governor of holding constitutional post and to work in collaborative manner so that they can fulfill the concept of collaborative federalism, where they should work in order to fulfill the criteria given under the Constitution for the public welfare. The next was the sovereignty of people hold the prime position in a democracy. The court held that it is the people who are sovereign and not the Chief Minister or the Lieutenant Governor. It is a democracy, and decisions of the elected government represent what public is actually thinking of. What are the perception of the people? What are the popular sentiments? If Lieutenant Governor keeps on taking decision on his own, it goes against the sovereignty of the people enjoyed under the Constitution. Then comes the concept that Lieutenant Governor, through dialogues and discussion, should try to resolve any differences and not to render his own advice in a unilateral manner. Whenever there is a difference, there should be the initiative taken by the Lieutenant Governor to call the Chief Minister or the Council of Ministers to conduct meeting, to provide dialogues, discussions, platform to discuss any issue. And then if the dispute is not resolved even after the dialogue, then he should refer the material or the matter to the President. But before that, collaborative efforts should be taken. So these are the important guidelines that you can use in order to provide the balanced view if there is a question with respect to the conflict between Lieutenant Governor and the Chief Minister himself. With this discussion, please let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on page 14 and talks about the recent proposal made by India to go for a stabilization fund to bolster the carbon market. Now, on the DPP dated 20th, that is a day before, we have discussed what carbon market is all about. Today, we are going to look into that what this stabilization fund is and how it is going to benefit India. The context says that India is planning to create a stabilization fund. Now, please understand this. The fund will be created, money will be collected to stabilize something. Now, what we are stabilizing? We are stabilizing the price of credits. Now, what are these credits? These are the carbon credits that a company earns and sell and the other company buys. And this fund will be created to also develop the carbon market in India. India does not have a good, well developed carbon market, and that is one of the reasons that the government is planning to create a stabilization fund for more credit transfer. The objective is that government want to ensure carbon credit remains attractive for the investors and markets succeed in cutting the emission across India. Now, India is a signatory to the Paris Climate Deal. As a matter of fact, India is also looking towards reducing down the greenhouse gas emissions. For that, India have to control its CO2 emissions. Now, most of the industries across India produces CO2. The moment we say we are producing CO2, which we are also concerned with sequestration or the reduction of CO2 from the environment. The amount of CO2 that India is generating is far more than what it is actually reducing down from the environment. So for reducing more CO2 from the environment, it is one of the criteria to trade the carbon credits. For this, there will be a process that government is going to follow. Dedicated money will be kept in the fund, that is the stabilization fund, and this money will be used by the regulator. Here means government. So government is going to buy carbon credits if there is a fall in the price of that carbon credit. Let's say a company has created a carbon credit and there is no one who is buying that credit or a certificate. So government will buy the certificate over a particular price. Market regulator and price mechanism will be decided later on by the government, that who is going to act as the agency for buying and selling of these credits from the government side, and how the price of a credit will be determined. All the planning will be envisaged for the market by 2026, and after that the allocation of different quantities of tradable permits or the credit will be allowed. Now let us understand the entire story through a simple example. Let's say this is the government. Let's say there's a Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change representing the government. And now this ministry is also representing itself as the regulator. Now this ministry is going to set emission cap and allocate the allowances to be covered under the industry. Now let's take an example. There is an emitter A. This is a steel industry. It is utilizing carbon for various purposes and releasing CO2. This CO2 is excess in the environment. Environment cannot tolerate so much of CO2 emitted by this steel industry. The cap that we are talking about above here is, let's say, 1 ton of CO2. So if this company A is producing more than 1 ton of CO2, this is a polluting or the emitter. This is the carbon emission emitted firm. Now this is a polluting firm, or this is a polluting factory. They should pay. Because of the pollution that this industry is creating, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are losing their life because of the climate change. There's the environmental conflicts, there's a migration, melting of snow, falling of the flora and fauna, and many other climatic issues. Now many such industries should pay the price that is required for the mitigation effort. Let's say government wants to go for the plantation. Government want to go for the restoration of forest. From where will they get money? And if there is another industry, let's say emitter B. This is an IT industry or IT firm, and it is not producing any carbon. Actually, this firm has planted trees on its land. And these trees are actually reducing down the CO2. So one company is producing CO2, the other company is reducing CO2. So this should be penalized and this should be incentivized. The process of penalizing one and incentivizing other through the tool of carbon pricing or a carbon credit. See, carbon credit is like a certificate. Now what will happen? The company B or the IT firm will produce a carbon credit or a carbon certificate. and the price of this carbon credit will be determined by the government. Let's say the price is 1 crore rupees. Now this certificate will be held by emitter B or the IT firm. Government is saying that the steel company is going to pay price of 1 crore rupees. Now this company is not going to pay to the government. Whom this should pay? The steel industry will pay 1 crore rupees to the IT firm. So this is the benefit and this is the loss. So this is polluter pay principle. The one who is polluting the environment should pay. The one who is controlling, saving the environment should be incentivized. So because of this, there is net zero emission. And this is the basic criteria of every government across the world. Now, government through the stabilization fund is saying, let's say there is no one who is buying this carbon credit at 1 crore rupees. Then what will happen? So government will pay 1 crore rupees and government will then recover this 1 crore rupees from some other companies. And this is the reason why the fund will be created. So in that fund, 1 crore rupee will be deposited. That 1 crore rupee will go to the IT firm and then government will recover that 1 crore rupee from the polluting industries. For this, there will be a carbon market in which a primary and secondary market will be there. Carbon allowances will be given. This 1 crore rupees is nothing but the kind of allowance. And this is how the entire mechanism is going to work. Now, there are certain criteria through which carbon can be priced. Now, carbon is an element. Can we price carbon? How will you price a particular carbon? How will you price CO2? So in international market, in order to reduce down the emission, there is a mechanism to price the carbon or the CO2 that we are getting as a pollution. There are 4 important methods through which carbon is priced and its emission is reduced. The first and the foremost and the most important one is emission trading system or ETS. There are 2 such ETS methods. The first is cap and trade method. Cap and trade simply means that there will be the higher limit on CO2 emission. If a company bridges this upper limit, they are going to buy a credit. So once they bridge this cap, the higher limit, they will go for trading system. So this is one form of emission trading system. The second one is baseline and credit system. It simply means that there is a lower limit of pollution that a company is allowed, lower limit of CO2 emission. But this company goes even lower to that emission. Let's say they were allowed 1 ton of emission of CO2, but they go for only 0.5 ton. That is half of what they were allowed. So they are performing extremely well. So what they will do? They will earn the credit. And this credit is nothing but a certificate. So these are the 2 types of emission trading that takes place usually. Then comes the internal carbon pricing. Internal means company level or a firm level. So company is determining its own standards. Let's say Google. So Google, wherever it has headquarters, wherever it has offices, it will determine its own emission targeting. Then comes the result-based climate financing. It is simply based on the performance. If there is a project which is going on across the world and that project is producing less CO2, it is sequestering more CO2 and it is less harmful and less emission in this greenhouse gases, that firm or that company or that project is going to earn benefit. The last one is the method of carbon tax, where per unit of carbon is taxed, and here it is mostly coal. So government can tax coal through a price. That money which is earned by the government is going to be utilized for the mitigation effort. So from the entire discussion we have learned is that government is looking to create a fund. This fund will help in the creation of a carbon credit market in India and its basic development. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on page first and talks about a regional folk art. And this art is known as Dokra art. Dokra, or also known as Dokra. This art is famous in eastern and southern part of India, especially in the regions around Jharkhand and West Bengal. It is mostly celebrated by the tribal communities where they utilize copper and brass through the technique of metal casting using the lost wax technique. Lost wax techniques is the one where wax is removed from the clay model and it is filled by a specific metal, and after that there is a important carving created on that object. As far as duration is concerned, so each and every item can take even a month for its creation. That is the reason why it is very expensive goods also. The specialization in this art includes the human figure, animal and the bird figures. As you can see on this photograph, this is a human figure created under this art. As far as technique is concerned, so this is as old as 5000 years, because this lost wax technique was used in the dancing girl of copper under Indus Valley civilization. So this art, this tribal art is extremely old. The best example of this art is from the Adilabad. Adilabad is in South India, and this Adilabad Dokra has already got the geographical indication tag. So from the perspective of prelim examination, this is very important. Such kind of art and their location and their basic features could be asked in the prelim examination. With this discussion please, let us now move to the last article for the day. This article talks about the regional geographical phenomena known by the name Chillai Kalan. Well, this is a deep freezing situation and lasts for 40 days in the area of Kashmir and its surrounding. It is the harshest spell of winter which is being observed, and the minimum temperature remains sub-zero for the entire valley of Kashmir. So from the prelims perspective, this article is important because keywords or geographical keywords could be asked in this examination. So you should be well prepared of these local terms used for geographical phenomena. The Chillai Kalan start in the second half of December, that is after 15 December, and last till the end of January, that is around 40 to 45 days. The temperature during this period drops considerably, leading to the freezing of water bodies. For example, Dal Lake. There is a persistent and frequent cold wave which comes from the Siberia and also from the Ladakh region in this area. It has three different parts. First is Chillai Kalan that ends on 31st of January. It is followed by Chillai Kurd for 20 more days. And in the last of the series, there is Chillai Bacha, that is baby cold, which lasts till the beginning of March. So, from the prelims perspective, try to remember these keywords. It could be asked in this examination.